Hello, world. Just two quick thoughts this Saturday from Peter and John from their quote in the reading from the Acts of the Apostles. They said, "Whether it is right in the sight of God for us to obey you rather than God, you be the judges. It is impossible for us not to speak about what we have seen and heard." My two thoughts here. First, this conviction to obey God kind of comes straight from Jesus' command that we hear in the gospel today to go into the whole world and proclaim the gospel to every creature. Now, if we were to take that literally, that means proclaiming the gospel to all the animals that are running around and all the plants and trees and everything. I'm not advocating that we should reallocate our resources in an attempt to evangelize the animals around us. But Jesus' statement does stress that no one is excluded from this proclamation. And while it doesn't make a lot of sense to proclaim the gospel to squirrels or plants, in a certain sense, we can raise up creation to proclaim the gospel. Because God has entrusted the material world into our hands, and therefore we have a responsibility not only to care for it, but to use it to glorify God. And as God transforms our hearts, we too, in turn, should turn around and transform the world around us to more perfectly glorify God. Therefore, we are proclaiming the gospel through every creature. My second thought, again from the quote from Acts, Peter and John say, "It is impossible for us not to speak about what we have seen and heard." My question for you is, are you there? Are you there on a daily basis? Are you so convicted of the goodness that God has done in your life that it is impossible for you to not speak about it? Early on in this quarantine, I was on the phone with someone local, and she was describing her experience of working in a particular public position of hers. And given this was several weeks back, I probably have the details wrong at this point, but here's the gist of it all. She was asked how she was getting through everything, and she basically told the person, "Oh, well, I'm telling people that I'm praying Our Fathers." To which the other person said, "You can't say anything about prayer in your position." And of course, the response was along the lines of, "Well, I'm going to keep doing this public service, which is much needed right now, and I'm going to keep praying." It's just one example. But this individual was so convicted in the power of prayer that she wasn't afraid to announce that to those around her. Are you so convicted in the Lord's work in your own life and in the power of prayer that you aren't afraid to be challenged on it, and so that you aren't afraid to even stand up and to remain firm in the face of challenge? Let's ask for the grace today that we might daily deepen in our conviction to speak about what we ourselves have seen and heard, to never fear giving witness to those around us, regardless of what that means. Our Lord Jesus, who did this perfectly, he offers his own grace to us today, and he desires to transform us to live from this conviction in his goodness in every moment.